So it's finally time to start playing shows again. But first, you gotta get your live game in check. Metal Base Monday. So we're gonna do something a little different this week, as I mentioned in the intro and on the thumbnail. We're going to talk a little bit about some live things and a little bit about the conditions before lockdown with live and how I think we can make a change going forward. But it's going to involve you guys getting a little more pro. So before we get into that, just wanted to do another quick update. The podcast is going to debut here shortly with me and Alfie. It's shaping up to be a lot of fun. And I wanted to announce a new patron feature. For patrons, I'm going to start advertising about a week ahead of time what the subject of the next podcast is going to be, and you guys can put out questions for he and I to talk about or answer during the show, and I think that'll be kind of fun. It'd be really an interesting thing to have you guys take a little bit of time and maybe give us some side thoughts or things you'd like to hear addressed in the topic that we pick. So that'll be coming up, and I'll talk more about it on the Patreon page. And if you would like to get in on that, the Patreon links are down below. And thanks as always to my patrons that have been a big part of why I've been able to branch out and start doing more kinds of content, with definitely more coming, and be able to launch the podcast. So thanks to you all. It's going to be a lot of fun. More coming. So when it comes to playing live, before everything kind of went to hell on us, there were two things that I really kind of had to have an issue with. And I'm going to give you some stuff for yourself that I think are important going forward when you relaunch your band, and how to get ahead, how to do better, and how to go pro. And also some things I think we need to think about as far as how we approach the live experience and how we deal with clubs. I mean, it's great that we're all enthusiastic and we all want to get back to work and we all want to jump right back in, but that's been part of the problem with musicians for a long time, is we get really eager and we let clubs take advantage of us. And the reason that we've gotten into the spot of being constantly broke and everybody making money off of us except us is the fact that we just want to do something so bad that we let our common sense get away from us and we let people take advantage of us. For all the clubs opening up and saying, "Oh, it's so great, we can't wait to welcome you back," remember how they treated you before. Remember pay to play. Remember no pay you play. Remember watching the guy at the door taking $10, $12, $15, $20 a pop, letting people in the door, and you don't get paid a penny of it. Remember getting rushed off the stage. Remember getting half-assed sound checks. Yeah, it wasn't all the great way we probably nostalgically look at when we used to play a lot of gigs. And I think that we have to do better for ourselves. We have to demand better out of these venues. But if you want to do it, you have to be pro first. You can't demand something out of somebody unless you're able to deliver the goods. So we're going to talk about the ways that on the other side of that coin, I started seeing incredible laziness and just bad artistry out of bands, and how you need to level up your live game. And believe it or not, 4 or 5 simple things that will take you to being respected more, being more pro, putting on better shows, and being able to demand what you're worth. So let's get to it. Number 1, bring backup gear. It's not an option, ever. You have to have an alternate for everything. This isn't a rehearsal. I started to see, endless bands. Almost no band I knew carried alternate gear. If you play guitar, you have to have a backup guitar. If you play bass, you have to have a backup bass. If you use an amp of any kind, you either have to have another amp, another head, or something that you can switch out. It's not an if, it's a when this thing will go bad. I have never seen a band that has not had an equipment meltdown on a stage. And if you're pro, you'll know how to get out of this, and it won't be a big deal. If you're a lot of the bands I see anymore, and unfortunately I have to say it plagues metal a lot, it seems like we got real lazy. It's a disaster, and it tears you out of any real opportunity of being taken credibly. The way I do things, and it's funny, everybody calls me over-prepared when I do it, but then they're always the ones crying asking for my stuff when we're at a show and their stuff goes to hell on them. Here's my recommendation. I have something called the Life Box. It is a box with 3 drawers in it. All the drawers have bright orange duct tape on them, and they are clearly labeled bass, guitar, drums. In those drawers are replacement pieces for every possible thing I may need. Strings, cables, fuses, patch cables, extra power cables, like every possible thing I can find that can go wrong, might be needed to be replaced. You'd be amazed at the stuff that can go down. I've had people just run over with a massive like Ampeg 810 over one of my power cables and ruin it. Now, just because of this stupid 3-prong cable, I'm shot. And nobody ever has a replacement for that. All those little Band-Aid items. It's amazing how many times I've watched a guitar player with a 100-watt tube head. Everything's fine all the way through sound check. Everything's great. They go to get on stage. It's time for their set. They hit off standby and you hear pop. No sound. What does that mean? Either something's gone wrong on their board, or, funny enough and pathetically enough, they've blown a fuse somewhere. They have absolute garbage power in most of these clubs, and they blow a fuse, and now because of a 20-cent item, the entire band is shut down. That should never, ever happen to you. It costs almost next to nothing. It's basically just bringing all your crap from home and sticking it in these boxes. And the thing about a Life Box is you don't want every member of the band having a separate backup thing. One box, because odds are you're going to have to rely on someone else to go and grab the thing for you. So you want it in one central location. Everybody in the band, techs, friends, whoever it is, knows bad things happen. You go to the box. You grab that, whatever's needed out of there, new drum head, whatever it is, then you're up and running again. And the other is you've got to have something as a backup. If you've got a massive bass rig, beautiful, love it. Have some kind of pedal, have a Sans amp, have something to save your butt if the whole thing goes down. Same with guitar. You've got to have something that's an A-B that you can switch out quickly. If you play wireless, you better have a full-length guitar cable. I can't count the amount of times I've seen that. I mean, that's amateur hour stuff. Some guy's wireless suddenly starts picking up noise or goes out on him or starts cutting out and he doesn't have a cord. I mean, you're at a glorified rehearsal at that point. You're not doing a pro-level show. And you don't want to be seen that way. There's no reason to be that lazy. So have a backup for every single thing you have. And the excuse I usually hear about this kind of crap is, well, I don't treat my instruments roughly, or, it never happens or something like that. It's not always about you. And yes, you're still using an excuse to be lazy. But quick example from something that happened to me. One night I was playing the Viper Room in Hollywood. If you have ever seen the inside of it or know the stage there, it's a curved front with curtains that go in front of it. The way they make you do things is you get up there, you sound check, then you leave all your gear up there, you leave, and with the rest of the monitor check and everything else, the crew is usually up behind the curtains. Well, one of the pieces of crap that works there decided they were going to either move my bass or drop it or whatever the hell they did, because I go up, don't notice anything's wrong. They're playing our intro music, and I'm not getting any sound. I can't hear anything. So I flip my bass over to see if, my wireless isn't plugged in all the way or something. My wireless jack is completely shattered, torn to pieces, so badly that even the input jack is bent sideways. So even if I get a cable, I can't fit it in there because it's bent so badly. Somebody had just smashed the bottom end of my bass against something and then just put it back and acted like they didn't do anything. Didn't even mention it to me. If, like most bassists I see, I'm looking at a few of you, I didn't carry a backup, I have two choices now. I play the entire set, pretending to play and hoping that nobody notices, hope I'm not a prominent bass player, or I sit on the side of the stage like an idiot, holding a bass while everybody tries to figure out why the bass player isn't playing anything. So that's when you pick up the other bass and you just keep going. always have a backup for your gear. It's not an option. Your backup bass is as important as the bass you're playing. Your backup amp is as important as the amp that's active. Because if one goes down, that is your bass. That is your amp. No excuses. Backup for everything. Number 2, rehearse your entire live set and time it. Now, this is going to serve a number of fantastic purposes. But I know, again, a ton of bands that don't even write down a set list. That they'll just call out songs as they go, like they're Pearl Jam on a stoner night or something. And it doesn't work. It's not a pro way to set up. You're not going in and delivering a reliable show that's been rehearsed to its full effectiveness. And when I say rehearse your full show, I mean your full show. Don't just play your songs, having a few beers in between doing that. Play your entire live performance as you would play it live. That means you have to put in the breaks where you stop in between songs. And then the singer has to figure out what he's going to say. Now, a lot of people, well, you're just talking to the audience. You'll map that in. Script everything down to the last. It's better to have a plan than to get somewhere and realize you don't have a plan and something's not working out. Have a few things that you want to say. You don't have to go David Lee Roth on the thing, for Christ's sake, but have a couple of things like, okay, after the second song, I'll say something about where we are. I'll ask the audience a specific question. I will then use this joke or this gimmick or whatever to introduce song number 3. Have that written down, and when you practice, say those things into the mic. Actually do the performance, and then time it out. 1, this is going to make you way more professional. Everybody in the band is going to know the exact flow of how your performance goes, of what to expect from every member of the band, and things are going to get into just a machine-like professional performance. This is going pro. It's accounting for everything. The other is, I know so many frontmen who sit there and go, I've got this, and I don't like thinking about it ahead of time and all that. And then this horrible thing happens pretty much every show. You think 400 people are going to be there, there's 5. And then what happens? The energy is low, it's bummed out, the people in the audience are there for a different band and they're not necessarily digging yours, something like that. So now the energy isn't there and he doesn't have anything to say and he's stuck for ideas. And you just get that kind of weird, low energy mumbling moment. Nope. Script it out so that when there are 5 people or 5,000 people, you give the same show. If you want to impress the hell out of a club and a promoter and the people who may not even dig your band, they will dig a professional performance that you gave them a stadium act in a little club. Don't ever shortchange your show. Time it out. The other thing is I see, this was one of the things that I saw constantly, is bands that had no idea how long their performance was going to take. And this would revolve around 2 things. They would just go and say, we want to play these songs and roughly know how long it is. 1, they would keep playing. And the club owners going like, Jesus Christ, what are they doing? And they had a song they were so desperate to play, they had left to the end of the set list, that they would just try and jam in all this crap. The band after them is delayed getting on. The club owner and the promoter are furious. And it was just a train wreck of a show. And they're just trying to hustle through other songs. Just a bad look. Or they play a set that they blaze through because they got excited and the tempos are too fast and the singer didn't want to say anything. And all of a sudden they're closing out 15 minutes early. And the promoter's going, what the hell? Neither option is a great one. So time your set out. Now, this is going to help you business-wise, because with a number of clubs, that, especially one that I used to know in the LA area, club owners and promoters have a way of messing with you in that they assume you're one of these bands and they think you don't know how long you've been on stage. More than once, when they've been wanting me to play longer to fill up the space for an incompetent band who either hadn't shown up on time, hadn't got their gear in the door, or they wanted to spread things out a little bit, or we were getting a better response than the band that was coming on and they wanted to push us more. Of course, no more compensation. Then I start getting this one from behind the soundboard, the tapping, keep going, like, oh, you got more time, keep going. I know exactly how much time I have. And I know when I was told do 35 minutes, I do a tight 37, so I know I've gone just over, I've delivered and given everything, and I'm walking off that stage. I deliver exactly what's there, and you always leave a place with them wanting more from you. You never play until people are sick of you. I know for an all original set, for people who've never heard a band before, they start getting exhausted no matter how good you are. 35, 40 minutes. That's about what they have in them. And if I see a promoter doing this one and telling me to keep going, that is not my deal. That is not your problem. And you know if that's being done to you, if you've timed your set correctly, if you came and you provided the show you were contracted to do, and you're supposed to get compensated for, that's what you do. It is never a good look for a band to sit there and be, going into your big crescendo ending and having all this stuff, then a dead air space and going, oh, so you guys want to hear some more? They said we have more time. We ended on a big note, but you want to hear a Metallica cover? No. No thanks. Not doing that one. It is not your job to make yourself look bad to fill someone else's space. But you will always be more pro, put on a better show, be more polished, and have every minute nailed down. If you time your set, but you have to do it exactly as you perform it, script out the pieces. Again, if something happens and you want to run with it and there's something really cool to talk about that's going on in the club, great. But have something scripted to a specific amount of time that is going to be said, or a little bass thing, or whatever it is in between songs. Timing everything out, you will be way more pro and ahead of the game. Next up, know your sound. I see bands constantly going out with the worst live sound I've ever heard, and it's no one's fault but their own. They love to blame the sound man, all that, but I get up towards the stage and it's a complete disaster. Get your sound game together. You should have rehearsals that aren't just about songs, but they're about sound, just dialing in tone. You could write the greatest songs in the world, but if your sound is complete garbage, nobody's going to be able to make any sense out of them. Have your guitars dialed in, EQ'd so that they don't just sound super chunky and awesome by themselves, that they fit in the mix well, that the bass and the guitars blend. Vocals can hear themselves through them. Get a polished sound together. If it takes time, it takes time. Getting all that stuff organized and having a good clarity and a good separation between the instruments and all of them having their place is going to make the sound man's job way easier. And you're still going to sound fairly good if you get a half-assed sound man, because you've already done most of the work. And side tip, if you really want to get on a sound man's good side, no matter how bad they are, anything else, before anything starts, walk up to the sound man, hand him a 20 and go, hey man, just a little extra on the house. We appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the time you're putting into our sound. Every single time you will get treated better. Only takes a little bit of grease to make the wheel go better. To me, having $5 per member of the band go into that means way better sound, means way better performance, means way better money I can demand when I come back. And finally, you have to remember what a show is for. A show, we love it and we like to play and we like having the experience and everything, but ultimately its real function as far as our career is it's kind of a business card. It's something to get a person involved in your music. You want them to follow up. You want them to start following your social media. You hopefully want them to buy some merch. You want them to go and download your music. Hopefully buy some of that. You want the person to become a consumer of what you do. So if you don't have anything to promote or anything to do, you shouldn't be playing a show. You're not ready yet. There's no reason for it. You're going out and honestly, you're probably just going to annoy people. And I've seen this. Going out and playing a show and having somebody come up after it and go, man, you guys are amazing. Where can I find you? Where can I get your music? Oh, we're not really on Spotify yet. We're probably going to do that. We got an EP that's, yeah, we've been working on it a lot, but I don't know. We'll probably have something in like a month, maybe. It depends on when our engineer does it, because it's always your friend who's doing it at a cheaper rate. Don't even get me started on that. Uh, or, well, you could probably follow us on Facebook. Okay, well, what's your thing? Where can I find you? Oh, well, we didn't get the name link yet and stuff. Here, let me see your phone. Here, I'll check. No, it's over. It's done. That person's just going to annoy you. You have to have something to leave behind, something to give them to take from the show. Have merch. Have some kind of recording that they can access immediately from their phone. A link you can give them, a download, a Spotify, anything, a CD if you have to. Something like that. Have cards printed up, basically business cards, but cards for the band that have your website, your Facebook, where they can get your music, where an email address if they want to contact you about things. Same thing that you can give out to promoters, agents, other bands. You've got to have some kind of professional kit of things that make you accessible. If you play a show and you leave nothing behind, all you did was have a really overdone rehearsal. That's all it was. Those people aren't going to follow up on you. People have the attention span of, a ferret these days. They're not going to follow up on you even if they liked you, because there's a billion other bands out there grabbing your attention from you. So you have to have something that the next day they'll go, oh yeah, I wanted to check in on these guys. Or this shirt's cool. I got to go find that Facebook thing. Where's that guy's card with all the links? And make it look good. None of this like handwritten crap. If you need, I know it's tough, but hire a graphic designer, talk to a friend who's good with this stuff, and get something professionally made. If you're trying to do this and make it somewhere, half-assing any part of it just says you're not serious. That there's always going to be a band out there trying harder than you, looking better than you, and being more pro. And here's what we reach at the end of the day. These are all the things that show you're a professional. So when we go back to the beginning of the conversation about how clubs have to treat us and how not being paid for being their entertainment for the night is absolutely unacceptable. You have to do these things so that they know that they're dealing with a competent professional and an artist that respects themselves. That's the only way that you're ever going to be able to sit there and make this argument with them. If you come in there looking like a slob, looking like you just showed up from, your job as a mechanic or whatever. Love mechanics, nothing against it, but I wouldn't go on stage with tire grease all over my face. Half-ass gear breaking down during sound check, asking other bands for help, having no music, nothing left behind, everything looks like it was written by hand on the back of a CD cover or something, then you have no argument when they say you're not pro enough to make money. You should be glad we let you in the door. If that's the way you're acting, unfortunately, they're right. Be pro, demand pro money. That's what we all should be after. Treat your band, your music, your image, your trademark, everything you do the way that we talk about bass playing on the channel, with respect, and do it the best of your ability. Because if not, then why do it? Doesn't make any sense. Find another hobby, because this one's damn demanding. But give it your best. And it's going to take your best, because for all the thousands of just absolute garbage bands out there, there's a few handfuls of really, really good ones, and they're going to eat your lunch. So we need to be respectable if we want to demand respect, and we have to show that we've put out something that's deserving of money if we want to demand the money. So step up the game. As we go back out there, let's use the opportunity to clear the chessboard, start playing with a new set of rules. And I'd love to see all of us start regaining some respect and some remuneration for the massive amount of work that we put into this. You know, we sit on the channel and we talk a lot about our playing and our chops and everything else, but all this is to get us to the stage. So I wanted to take a minute out and talk about this so that we didn't forget what the end goal really is and be reminded that there's a real problem with what happens when we get in that room. Never be so desperate that you're willing to get on your knees for these people, because at this point, don't forget, they need us now more than we need them. You know, when they used to treat us like crap, when the lockdowns came, all of a sudden, they were begging for bailouts. They were all over social media, save our club, help us out, GoFundMe, all this. Where was the GoFundMe for us when we couldn't pay our bills because they weren't paying us? They didn't seem to have so much sympathy and empathy for the music scene when that was going on. So always know the creature you're dealing with. And finally, look at where we are right now. You could film a decent video and reach more people in an hour with your band's music than you could in an entire packed club where they are. Never let them forget that. Never let them think that they still hold the complete upper hand to exposure. Play clubs after you've got your stuff together and you can demand what you want. Because there's always YouTube. There's always all these other video hosting sites, all this other social media. You can stay in your house and be 10 times as famous as you were playing out, and then just do rehearsal spaces and throw free shows that you don't have to pay for anything and have probably a better time. So, time to reframe things. Time to think it out a little better, and time to step up the game, and don't just be a great bassist, be a great band member. So, I'd love to hear your feedback and your comments. Are there some really unprofessional things that you see go on with bands, or stuff that you've had to deal with band members? I know I have, like guitar players that break strings and don't even have a backup guitar or an extra string. Yeah. But I'd love to hear your stories and some stuff that I didn't include on here. And as you know, I'm always up for some contradictory information or some pushback too, because it's always about getting to the truth and getting the best answers about things. So I'll see you down in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you on the next one.